Hope you are having a great Saturday so far. And I just wanted to quickly acknowledge the study that Dr. King mentioned in the very beginning, and she showed Mill in that video. And I'm not sure how many other folks we might have in the audience today that participated in that particular study. But a huge shout out and thank you. We were fortunate enough to wrap up that study just as COVID hit. So we were very lucky to get it done. And hopefully by this forum next year, we'll actually have some data to show you guys. So again, I wanted to give a heartfelt thank you to those of you that may have participated who are out there today. And I just quickly want to acknowledge what Christina mentioned in the Zachem Center. We do have a plethora of free classes that go on every single day live on our website. So you can go to the Dana-Farber website, look up Zachem Center, and you'll find links to our live classes. We've got yoga, we've got Tai Chi, we have Qigong, I do strength training. So please take advantage. We also have a very large YouTube library with about 75 or 80 videos on there as well, including some nutrition topics. So please take advantage, peruse the website, and otherwise let's all stand up and get moving here. So we're gonna start marching in place, just getting the blood flowing if you've been sitting still for the last couple hours here, hour and a half or so. So, you know, we can make this again as moderate or vigorous if you wanna take advantage, like Christina just mentioned, of the shorter duration needed for the higher intensity. You could take this into a jog, but so that you can keep hearing me talk clearly, I'm going to keep it to a march. And as always, you know, anytime we involve the arms, the more we involve them, the more they get the heart rate up. So you could be doing more, you know, bigger advanced moves to get that heart rate up. And then from here, we will turn this into what I call a V step. So we step forward wide and then back narrow. So as Christina mentioned, from a strength training perspective, you know, it's not quite as easy, shall we say, as going out for a walk and having a nice, you know, good pair of shoes. But again, I'll encourage, there's so much, the silver lining of COVID is there's so many videos available online, things to take advantage of, joining me, joining some of my Zachem colleagues. So we're gonna do 3 more, 2 more, 1 more. Now we're going to march wide together. So my feet are turned down a little bit. My feet and knees are turned down a little bit. And then we'll do an alternating hamstring curl. So, you know, these are also, you know, anything we've done so far are great things to do during your day. You know, Christina mentioned the importance of decreasing our sedentary time. So this is a good one for that. So potentially intertwining some of these into your day. We are going to do some strength moves together that again aren't going to require any special equipment. We'll mostly use our body weight. You could, if you have some weights nearby, potentially use those or soup cans or water bottles. We're going to do 3 more, 2 more, 1 more. We're going to turn this into a high knee. So now opposite, those knees come up. And you come as high up as your hips and your knees will allow. This morning, I still stay fairly wide with my knees. That feels best in my body. You can certainly come a bit more forward with this. Exercise is very much about what works for you in your body. As an exercise physiologist like Christina, I talk a lot about the FIT principle. And I often add a little E into the end of that FIT principle for enjoyment. So trying to find something or some way to make the exercise more enjoyable. So 3 more, 2 more, 1 more, and we'll bring our feet flat on the floor, hip distance apart. We're going to do a bit of upper body range of motion work here. So this is called a bow and arrow. So I've got a slight bend in my knees, my core is tight, my arms come forward, my palms are facing one another. And if I actually had a bow and arrow in my right hand, I'm going to pull it back. My elbow glides against my waist, twist in and back, and then comes forward. So we take a big inhale in the front, exhale, pull back. Inhale, front. Exhale, pull back. One more together. Inhale, front. Exhale, back. And now we have to do the other side. So we're trying to get some rotation through this middle part of our spine. Inhale, front. Exhale, pull back. Many of us tend to lose some of our rotational capacity through this mid part of our spine. So this is a nice chance. Again, something you can be doing during your workday while you're sitting in front of the computer, taking some breaks for these kind of movements. The last one back and forward. And then we'll get more into low back and hips, because again, a lot of us, myself very much included, have been sitting a lot more. And I get a lot of low back comments from people. So what I'm going to do first is shift my weight into one of my legs. So I've shifted most of it here, and then I'm going to hinge my body away from that leg. So my opposite hand travels down my leg. You can add an arm if that feels helpful. We'll come back to center. Again, we shift the weight first, then we hinge down in the opposite direction. If you've got that arm, it's actively reaching. Back to center. One more, hinge. And then bend. So again, a nice one to get that whole side body, low back, up into the chest and shoulders. And now we have to do the other side. We get a little comparison. So we shift the weight first, then hinge away from it, arm if it's helpful. Back to center, inhale and shift, and then hinge. One more, shift the weight first, then hinging over, actively reaching to the side wall. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling a little warmer. And so what we're going to start with is a basic squat. I'm going to demo it freely. You could also use a wall. As you can see, my wall is covered with all sorts of motivational people like RBG on my wall here. So for a squat, we can do it freely. If you have weights around and you feel like you want to grab a weight to do this, you could always do that. So squat form for me is very much dependent on your knees and your hips. So I like to be a little wider and like my toes turned out a little bit. If you decide to hold some, you're going to keep it close. Then all we're going to do is squat down and then stand up. So a very functional exercise, given that most of us tend to spend our day sitting in a chair and getting out of it and sitting back down and getting back up again. So important muscles to keep strong and engaged. As you see me from the side, I'm really sticking my bum back. So I'm able to wiggle my toes the entire time. And I have some underlying knee issues. So as you can tell, I'm not even coming to parallel. Some of you may be able to sink quite significantly lower than me. And that's great. But knowing if you have some underlying knee and hip issues, you could be against the wall and just sliding down a couple inches and back, making it work. This is our last one together. And up. Okay. So if you have water, I'm going to encourage you to be taking some sips of this throughout our exercise this morning. So that was some great lower body. We got a bunch of the lower body muscles working. So now we're going to do upper body, and we're going to do a wall push-up. I know for most women, when we think about push-ups, we think, oh my goodness, I can't do those. They're too challenging. The wall is going to be an excellent way to modify this, and you can make it sort of as dial it down or dial it up as much as you need to. So I'm going to start, my legs are fairly short, so I'm going to start about a foot or so away from the wall, and my hands are going to be wider than my shoulder distance. So you'll see me here. My heels are planted to start, I'm going to inhale and move in towards the wall, and then exhale and push back. So just like the squat, you can modify how far you move towards the wall. That will be one way to change the intensity. My heels do lift up a bit as my forehead comes towards the wall. And my whole body is moving. So I'm in a very plank-esque position, but I'm not leaving my bum back, and I call it bobbing for apples, where just your upper body goes. You want everything in a unit. This is our last one. And back. So hopefully you guys felt maybe some shoulder work, some chest work, maybe some upper back work. So I'm going to argue in those two exercises, we get almost all our major muscle groups covered. So we can check a lot off in a short period of time with the strength training piece, which is nice. So we'll continue on. We're going to do something for balance. I'm going to encourage, if you've got a chair nearby, to have that as an assist. You could also use a wall. Anytime we do balance, safety first. So balance work is going to be great for your balance and improving the strength of your core. So from here, if the chair's on this side of me, then this leg is going to be my supported leg. So I spread out my toes and I have a slight bend in my knee. If you're somebody that's prone to locking your knee, trying to keep a little bend, and your fingertips are just sort of gently resting on top of the chair. And I shift my weight into this leg, and my other foot is hovering. From here, we're going to imagine a string pulling us straight up while we move our leg out to the side, and then we bring it back down. So ideally, all my weight is staying centered over this standing leg, and I'm not putting any weight into my moving leg. As it comes back down to the floor, it sort of hovers, and then it goes back up. So what we want is that our stability here is coming from this center part of our body. This is actually its job. Particularly when we think about right now, a lot of wet leaves on the ground. Having a strong core and stability here through the center cylinder of our body is going to help keep us upright if we lose our footing under some wet leaves, which I often argue are more treacherous than ice. Last one out and back. So I don't know about you guys, but I feel both this standing hip because it was lifting and lowering, but I also feel this other hip that was supporting me. And you probably guessed it, we have to do the other side. So we'll get a little comparison. Again, I set up by spreading out my toes in my standing leg, a slight bend in my standing knee, fingertips for balance. I go out and in. So depending on your balance, you may need to have a nice small range of motion to start. Your balance is feeling pretty good. You've been working on it during COVID. You've been doing some yoga, things like that. You can certainly lift your leg up higher. The goal is, if you try to go up higher, that you still maintain a tall, upright chest and upper body. So I'm not leaning into the chair. I can certainly get my leg up higher, but that's not necessarily the goal. Okay, we'll do one more together. So really feeling both those hips. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely am. Okay, so again, 3 exercises in, getting a lot of bang for our buck here. And now we'll do a standing exercise more directed at sort of the smaller arm muscles. So you could also do this seated if at this point you need your break, your legs need a break. So I'm hip distance apart, slight bend in my knees, engaged core. My arms come out at shoulder height, and I'm going to do some clockwise arm circles. So I keep my circles fairly small. I like to make a fist. You could certainly do these with a light weight if you wanted, but I'm not going to encourage more than like 1 or 2 pounds. These are the things that are oddly challenging. And the ladies that take my classes in the Zachem Center know that the non-weighted exercise are often significantly more challenging than the weighted ones. So we'll do 3 more, 2 more, 1 more. Okay, roll those shoulders out a little bit. So let's have a seat if you want. We'll do a quick little stretch. And I'm glad to know that we're going to be doing some breathing together at the end, because that is a hugely important component of all of this. So let's do some neck work together. I think for all of us, sitting in front of computers all day can be tough. So what we're going to do first is just a slight chin tuck. You're making a double chin. You're going to drop your chin down towards your chest. So you'll feel that stretch along the back of your neck. Gentle stretch there, no pain. You're going to slowly roll your right ear to your right shoulder. And now you'll feel that stretch on the opposite side. You're going to go back and gaze up. And this is very individual. Some people can really wind up gazing straight up. That's going to stretch all through the front of the neck. But again, I have no tolerance for pinching and pain in the back of the neck. Then we'll drop ear to the opposite shoulder. And chin to chest again. So those are a great way, again, during Zoom calls or in between Zoom calls, get some neck and shoulder mobility, because again, I think a lot of us are spending a lot of time sitting. So again, I want to thank you guys. Please take advantage of the resources that we have in the Zachem Center and join us for our class and have some fun with us, because we really do have a good time. So thank you.